As a designer, you should strive to understand complex psychological concepts such as emotions and empathy so that you can create intuitive user experiences, especially for those users who may not be as tech savvy or as educated as most users are today. This is because even a poorly designed technology has a potential to enhance our daily lives by making things easier or more convenient for us at home, at work, and just how we interact with others. Ultimately, a better world would be created if designers intentionally applied an understanding of human psychology, more specifically empathy, into their designs to produce better products. What do I mean by empathy? Empathy is the ability to be in someone's shoes and feel their emotions: joy, pain, sadness, excitement. Understanding emotion is a key component of empathy when designing anything. This is because emotions are an essential part of any decision-making process, no matter how simple or sophisticated it may be. So, how do you design with empathy? Well, it depends on who you are empathizing with. There are two main categories of people that I think you need to empathize with and you will encounter as a designer. Number one, you need to be able to empathize with the end users of the product you're building. And number two, you need to be able to empathize with the stakeholders of the product you're building. So let's unpack what it looks like to empathize with users. Now, it is hard to understand someone's emotional needs if you haven't spent time with them. Spending time with your users is vital to understanding how they feel when they use your product. IDEO's human-centered design toolkit explains that empathy is the deep understanding of the problem and realities of the people you're designing for. You will need to understand the challenges people face, what drives their ability to make decisions, what their needs and desires are to fully understand their behavior and to be able to empathize. Now, some may argue that you could use analytical tools to observe user behavior. While that may be true to some extent, however, analytical tools do not fully convey feelings and emotions. There are several methods that one can use to empathize with users. Number one, observe users in their environment doing what they do without interrupting. Think National Geographical Channel where you observe nature and do not interrupt. Number two, conduct user interviews to better understand the problem space. Number three, journey mapping could be another way to see in between the lines of what is not being said. Number five, using the what, how, why methods and the 5 whys. And lastly, the empathy map, obviously. Now, a combination of several methods will leave you with a deeper level of understanding of emotions, needs, and desires that drives your users to make decisions. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list, so there are other list of methods and methodologies that you could use to empathize with your users. So let's unpack what it looks like to empathize with your stakeholders. Now, these group of individuals are often seen with us versus them type mentality by a good number of designers that I know. I get it. It can be insulting for non-designers to try to tell you how to design. But what if you pause for a moment and try to empathize? What would that look like for them, just like you do with your users? You're good at that. According to Tom Griever, the author of Articulating Design Decisions, developing empathy for our stakeholders means attempting to look at our project from their perspective so that we're no longer defensive and protective of our own ideas. We actually realize that their reactions and suggestions are based on a reality that for them is more important than our own. When we have empathy for stakeholders, you are not only there to understand their perspective, but you're also driven to action on their behalf. So you make changes to your designs because you feel their pain. So in other words, Tom here is saying just as empathy pushes you to find a solution for your user's problem, it will also push you to find solutions for your stakeholders' problems as well. At the end of the day, you could be the greatest designer that has ever lived, but your designs won't make it if you don't have stakeholder buy-in. And by the way, if you have not read Articulating Design Decisions by Tom Griever, you should. Having empathy for stakeholder was a game changer for me. It was my main takeaway and to do from the book. Check it out check out his website, linked it down in the description box below for you. So when it comes to application in terms of empathy for stakeholders, you could use similar empathy methods as you would for your users, but instead for the stakeholders. So you have the empathy map, you have the 5 whys, you have the what, how, why, and so on. In conclusion, design with empathy to uncover insights into your users' and stakeholders' needs, desires, and emotions that drive them to make decisions. Designing with empathy will make you a better designer. So, what's your take on this? How have you empathized with users and how have you empathized with stakeholders? How did that go for you? If you've learned something new, definitely share the knowledge with others by hitting that share button. If you're interested in more content like this, give this video a thumbs up and join the channel by subscribing and tapping on the notification bell so you know when I upload a new video. See you in the next one.